think that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure could not get any fucking weirder, this episode comes along. Let me just try and put this into words for you guys. In this week's episode, Kira finds this stray cat that's hanging out in his basement. The cat accidentally gets killed. He buries the cat in a patch of dirt in his backyard. That cat then comes back to life, but not in its original form. It actually transforms into a flower with eyeballs, the personality of a cat, and it has the ability to manipulate air and weaponize it as air bullets and bubbles. My guess is when the creator of the series was actually writing this chapter, he must have been either super mega drunk, super mega stoned on something, and watching Pet Sematary all at the same time. This episode was nuts! The coolest thing about this episode, in my opinion, though, is that it's actually focusing on Kira and his brand new family. The episode actually opens up with his wife Shinobu discovering this British blue hair cat in the basement, which is absolutely adorable. It's also absolutely insane, and seems to have some stand powers, because it's actually got a hole right in its neck where it was presumably hit by one of the arrows. She freaks out trying to capture it, and this ends up getting it killed when all of this glass ends up falling onto its body and just killing it. Kira decides to bury it in the backyard, and a couple days later, it somehow transforms into this flower, which has eyeballs and the personality of a cat perfectly. The mannerisms of the flower acting like a cat are definitely one of the best things about this episode. Just the way it actually uses its leaves, the design of the overall petals on its head, which kind of look like cat ears. This thing is still a cat in every sense of the words. It just looks like this weird, freaky alien plant. And for some odd reason, it really has it out for Kira's wife, Shinobu. In fact, when she goes outside, it ends up shooting this air bullet at her foot, and it ends up ripping her toenail off in a super bloody scene. She freaks out crying, Kira comes outside, and he does battle with a flower. Easily one of the most intense battles I've ever seen with a flower. In fact, I think it was the only intense battle that I've seen with a flower. So basically, what's going on, at least in my opinion, is that this cat died, its stand powers activated, and somehow that allowed it to come back to life, transform into this flower, and now it has the powers to manipulate air. It actually closes its entire body up with these flower petals, and it's able to turn into this little flower cannon that can shoot out these little air bubbles, which are basically like bullets. It ends up hitting Shinobu right in the chest. It attacks Kira in a number of different ways, one by just shooting stuff at him, and even injecting air into his veins. And you actually get to see that air traveling up his arm, and he's forced to use Killer Queen to blow up a portion of his arm just to allow that air to escape. The thing is, though, this flower is mostly just going after Shinobu. The only reason it's even attacking Kira is because he is trying to protect her. So he comes up with this plan where he takes out this golf ball, throws it towards the flower, and because this thing is a cat, it just starts playing with it and batting it around. Kira is able to dig up this pussy posy, and he ends up putting it into a pot, hiding it upstairs so that no one can see it. Why he isn't just straight up destroying this thing, I don't know. But the importance of this scene is that we get to learn that apparently his son, Ayato, has been noticing that his dad has been acting weird lately. He realizes that this is not actually his real father. He's been putting hidden cameras all over the place, and he also realizes that something's not quite right with something that's going on in the attic. And he does a little bit of investigating and even discovers the weird cat flower thing, and he reacts in a way that almost seems a little too, comfortable with it. He's like, he should be questioning all of this crazy shit that's been going on, especially because the flower actually tries to attack him by basically creating these bands, or these handcuffs, out of air, and it pins him against the wall. And while all of this is going on, Kira decides to return because he feels that something's not quite right. He goes up into the attic. His son manages to escape just barely, but he's hiding out, and he realizes that this is not his dad when he reacts to actually seeing this flower as he's trying to take care of it. Apparently, the only way to weaken this thing is to keep it out of the sunlight. It is a flower, after all. Apparently it gets really wilted and tired when it doesn't have access to photosynthesis. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable? Honestly, words just leave me at a moment like this. This episode is so strange, but oh so creative. Honestly, I think the best way to enjoy this episode is to simply not question any of it and just try to take it for what it is. the more you question it, the weirder it's actually going to seem. And I mean, this episode was fucking weird. But it was a great episode. I love that we got to spend some time with Kira and his brand new family, especially the character of Shinobu, who's really starting to grow on me quite a bit. She's a bit selfish, but I really want to see her get her way in many senses. Because throughout the entire episode, she's trying to gain the affection of her brand new husband, and it always comes across in a really funny way. Not to mention, it also seems she's having some sort of big effect on Kira himself. There's the scene where he's actually fighting against the flower for the very first time, and he's actually forced to try and protect her, and he doesn't know if he's actually doing this because he cares for her, or if he's afraid that the other stand users like Josuke and his friends are going to find out about this, and he's going to end up getting caught. It's really interesting that actually forcing himself to go into a family situation has actually turned Kira into a slightly better human being. Although, don't get me wrong, he's still incredibly despicable. So if you ever wanted to see an episode of JoJo where a cat transforms into a flower and attacks people, then this is the episode for you. It was fun, it was over the top, and I just loved it. I can recommend this one to all JoJo fans. They're really embracing the bizarreness of this season of JoJo, even more than the previous iterations of the series, and you have to remember, we've already seen some weird shit before. For me, the most ridiculous scene of JoJo back in the day was probably when you got to see when Cars actually transforms his hand into a squirrel, and it ends up like burrowing through that guy's stomach. This one, on the other hand, I really think is starting to take the cake, if only for the fact that it doesn't really make that much sense. Like, did that cat have stand powers before it turned into a flower, or did they only manifest when it transformed into a flower? And why did it even turn into a flower in the first place? I'm not some herbologist or anything, but damn, this one was weird. It was weird, but it was super entertaining. But I just found myself laughing the entire time at how ridiculous this episode got. And I really couldn't wait to see where it was going to go. And this is not the end of this story whatsoever. I honestly thought they were going to wrap up this whole cat becomes a plant thing in this episode. But no, we're going to get more in the future. And I can't wait to see how it's going to manifest. Or really, I should say, I can't wait to see how it's going to grow. So, this was a fantastic episode. Check it out, JoJo fans. If any of you did watch the episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. What did you think of the story of the stray cat and Kira and his brand new family? How do you think this thing is going to have importance as the actual story moves on? And what do you want to see from the rest of Diamond is Unbreakable? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment or two, and how about smashing that like button? It's one of the easiest and best ways to support our channel. So thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!